Have you ever felt trapped by life's challenges, unable to find peace in the face of pain, loss, or disappointment? What if I told you that there is a simple yet profound truth that could help you embrace life's ups and downs, without resistance, and find true peace in the present moment? This wisdom comes from a source that might surprise you, the Beatles' iconic song, Let It Be, which carries a message that aligns perfectly with ancient Buddhist teachings. In this video, we explore how embracing impermanence and letting go of attachment, as taught by Buddhism, can transform your life. Stay tuned as we uncover timeless truths that not only help us understand suffering but also guide us to live freely and peacefully in the here and now. Part 1: Understanding Suffering, the Buddhist View of Life's Challenges. Suffering is a fundamental part of the human experience. No one is immune. Whether it's the deep ache of losing someone we love, the sting of rejection, or the disillusionment that comes from unmet expectations, pain touches all of us. Buddhism, as it has been taught for over 2,500 years, offers a profound and straightforward understanding of suffering that can help us make sense of life's inherent difficulties. But beyond mere understanding, Buddhism provides us with a pathway to not just cope with suffering, but to transcend it. In the Buddhist worldview, suffering is not an isolated experience, it's universal. It's woven into the fabric of our lives, and no matter how we try to avoid it, it's always present. The first of the Buddha's Four Noble Truths is a simple yet deep acknowledgement: suffering exists. It's not a question of if but when. The Buddha doesn't romanticize suffering, nor does he offer empty reassurances. He looks at it head-on, naming it for what it is, and then sets the stage for what can be done about it. Imagine walking down a quiet path in a forest. At first, everything seems peaceful, the trees are tall, the birds are chirping, and the air is fresh. But then, you step into a puddle. The water is cold, and your feet are soaked. You may try to avoid it, but no matter where you step, puddles appear along the path. This is suffering in life. We don't always know where or when it will come, but it is inevitably part of our journey. The more we try to avoid it, the more we end up stepping right into it. Yet Buddhism goes beyond simply recognizing suffering. It asks us to explore why we suffer, and more importantly, how we can overcome it. The second noble truth reveals the cause of suffering: attachment and craving. This is where the real depth of Buddhist wisdom begins to unfold. We often cling to things, whether it's people, possessions, or even our own identities, believing that they will bring us happiness and fulfillment. But everything in life is transient. The job we thought would be our forever career, the relationship we believed was unshakable, or even the way we defined ourselves at a certain point in time, none of these are permanent. So, when they inevitably change, disappear, or evolve, we suffer. Think about a relationship that has ended. The pain doesn't simply come from the loss of the other person, it comes from the attachment we had to the idea of the relationship. We want things to stay the same because we've invested our sense of happiness in them. Yet, life's natural course is change, and to resist this flow is to invite unnecessary pain. Just like trying to hold on to a river's current, the more we resist, the more we feel helpless as it slips through our fingers. This attachment is often compounded by our craving for permanence. We crave stability, certainty, and control in a world that is constantly shifting. This craving manifests in countless ways, whether it's the pursuit of material wealth, the desire to be loved, or the need to achieve. We hope that by grasping onto these things, we can find lasting happiness. But the Buddha teaches us a different path, a path of non-attachment, which isn't about rejecting life's joys, but about experiencing them without the grip of fear, desire, or possession. At times in my life, I've found myself clinging to the memory of better days, days when life felt easier or when things were more certain. I used to hold on to these memories tightly, thinking that if I could just bring them back, I'd find peace. But when I look back now, I realize that the suffering I experienced wasn't just from the loss, it was from my resistance to the flow of time. I couldn't accept that things had changed, and in that resistance, I created my own pain. Buddhism teaches that when we acknowledge the existence of suffering and its cause, we are taking the first step toward freedom. The Buddha doesn't say that we must eliminate suffering from our lives, because that's impossible. Instead, he asks us to understand it, to sit with it, and to recognize the role of attachment and craving in amplifying it. So how can we begin to ease our suffering? The answer lies not in avoidance, but in acceptance. We must begin by acknowledging the truth of our suffering, without judgment or resistance. The very act of acknowledging suffering is a transformative practice. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly, what was hidden becomes clear. When we see suffering for what it truly is, we can begin to disentangle ourselves from the attachments that bind us to it. When we're faced with pain, we often want to run away from it. But Buddhism asks us to take a step toward it, to look at it with curiosity, and to ask ourselves, why am I suffering? By doing this, we open ourselves to understanding rather than escaping. It's a shift in perspective, like someone who finds themselves at the foot of a mountain, no longer looking for a shortcut to the top, but instead preparing for the climb. Only when we face the mountain can we begin the journey to reach the summit. Buddhism provides us with tools to navigate suffering, but the first step is always awareness. When we bring awareness to the nature of our suffering and its causes, we begin to see the truth more clearly. We see that suffering is not a permanent fixture, but a passing experience that arises from our attachments. This awareness opens the door to freedom. We can stop trying to hold on to things that are slipping through our fingers, and instead, we can release them. This is the foundation for living a life of peace. In our modern lives, we often look for quick fixes to our pain. We want instant solutions, and when life's challenges don't resolve in the way we expect, we get frustrated. But Buddhism teaches us that we don't have to fix everything immediately. In fact, sometimes the best thing we can do is to stop trying to fix it at all. Instead, we can embrace the discomfort, sit with it, and learn from it. This practice is deeply counterintuitive in a society that constantly pushes us to do something about our problems. But by simply allowing ourselves to be with suffering, without rushing to make it go away, we create the space for true healing. The Buddha doesn't ask us to force things, but to let them unfold naturally. In this way, we can stop fighting the current of life and instead, learn to float with it. To make these teachings practical, we can begin by noticing when we feel suffering arising in our own lives. Are we holding on too tightly to something or someone? Are we resisting the natural flow of change? Can we shift our focus from trying to control everything to simply observing what is happening around us? This isn't an easy task. But through mindfulness and reflection, we can gradually loosen our grip on the things that cause us pain. We can learn to accept that suffering is a part of life, but it doesn't define us. By understanding its causes, attachment and craving, we can begin the process of letting go, of accepting what is, and of embracing the impermanence of all things. Buddhism doesn't ask us to eliminate suffering from our lives, it asks us to see it, understand it, and ultimately transform our relationship with it. This shift in perspective is where true freedom lies. By letting go of attachment, by accepting change, and by understanding the impermanent nature of everything, we can find peace, not in a life free from difficulty, but in a life where we no longer fight against it. And in this peace, we can experience the profound wisdom of simply letting things be. Part 2, The Nature of Impermanence, a Universal Truth. Change. It's the only constant in life, yet it is one of the hardest truths for us to accept. The seasons shift, the years pass by, and people, no matter how dear, come and go. Our thoughts, our emotions, and even our very bodies are in a state of constant flux. But despite the fact that we are surrounded by change, we often fight it. We cling to moments, relationships, and material possessions, hoping that they will remain the same. We build our lives around the idea that stability can give us security, but the nature of life itself is impermanent. The Buddha's teachings on impermanence, or anicca, invite us to see change not as a threat but as an essential part of existence. Everything that arises will eventually pass. This is not a philosophy of despair but one of liberation, because when we understand and accept impermanence, we free ourselves from the fear and suffering that comes with resisting it. Think about the last time you experienced the beauty of a sunset. In that moment, the sky transformed from gold to pink to deep purple, and you felt awe in your heart. But if you stayed with that moment, hoping to hold on to its beauty, you would only be disappointed. The sunset would fade, the night would come, and the moment would be gone. Yet, it's precisely because the sunset is fleeting that it holds its beauty. The moment of change, the transition, is what makes it precious. This is the paradox of impermanence. It is precisely because everything changes that it becomes meaningful. Imagine if everything stayed the same. If joy were eternal, it would lose its significance. If we could hold on to every moment forever, there would be no room for new experiences, for growth, or for the thrill of anticipation. The impermanence of life is what infuses our moments with meaning. But despite knowing this on an intellectual level, we often resist change. Why? Because we crave stability and certainty. We build our lives around routines, relationships, and possessions, believing that they will provide us with happiness. We want to know what will happen tomorrow, next year, and in the far future. But the truth is, no matter how much we try to control it, we can never fully predict or hold on to the future. In my own life, I've felt the anxiety of wanting things to stay the same. I held on to the idea of being young forever, of staying in a job that I thought defined me, and of keeping relationships intact because I feared the emptiness that change might bring. But the more I resisted, the more I felt trapped. The moment I began to embrace change, however, my world opened up. I let go of expectations and accepted the impermanent nature of all things. Instead of fearing the end of a chapter, I began to appreciate the lessons it brought and the space it made for new experiences. In Buddhism, we're asked not to fight change but to move with it. The Buddha often compared life to a river, constantly flowing, always shifting. When we resist the current, we tire ourselves out. But when we learn to flow with the river, we find that we can go further and with much more ease. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. What are you holding on to that no longer serves you? Is it a job you're afraid to leave? A relationship that has become toxic? A version of yourself that no longer fits who you are becoming? We all have attachments, often without even realizing it. We grasp at what's familiar, hoping that it will give us some sense of security in an otherwise unpredictable world. But in doing so, we set ourselves up for inevitable disappointment when those things change or fade away. Buddhism invites us to see that attachment is the root of suffering. It's not the change itself that causes us pain, but our resistance to it. When we let go of attachment, we are not abandoning the things we love, we are simply learning to appreciate them fully in the present, without the fear of losing them. We begin to see that change is not something to fear but to embrace, for it is what keeps life vibrant and full of possibility. One of the most liberating practices of Buddhism is mindfulness. By practicing mindfulness, we learn to observe the impermanence of each moment without attachment. We see that our emotions, like clouds, come and go. We understand that our thoughts are fleeting and that our physical bodies will eventually return to the earth. And yet, instead of feeling despair over these truths, we find a deep sense of peace. This doesn't mean we should stop caring about the people or things in our lives. Rather, it means that we can care deeply without holding on to them with clenched fists. We can love without fear, knowing that nothing lasts forever. By practicing mindfulness, we let go of our need to control the flow of life and instead allow ourselves to be part of it, moving with it rather than against it. Buddhism also teaches that by embracing impermanence, we learn to cultivate gratitude for the present moment. Each passing moment, knowing that it will never come again, becomes something to cherish. When we experience joy, we don't try to make it last forever, but we savor it, knowing that it is fleeting and that its impermanence makes it all the more precious. This is where the wisdom of impermanence can truly transform our lives. The fear of losing something or someone fades when we realize that everything is transient. Instead of clinging to the past or worrying about the future, we can live fully in the now. Every moment becomes an opportunity to experience life as it is, without the weight of expectation or fear. We are constantly confronted with change. The people we love grow older, our jobs evolve, and we ourselves change in ways we may not expect. But in that change, there is beauty. Just as the sunset is beautiful because it will soon be gone, our lives are beautiful because they, too, are impermanent. Each moment offers us a chance to be present, to let go, and to embrace the flow of life. It's important to remember that this isn't always easy. Embracing impermanence means confronting the discomfort of change, the uncertainty that comes with it, and the loss we inevitably experience. But it also means understanding that these challenges are part of the human experience, and they offer us the chance to grow. When we let go of our need to control everything, we open ourselves to greater freedom and peace. So, I invite you to reflect on your own attachments. What are you clinging to, hoping that it will bring you stability or happiness? How might your life change if you were to let go of the need to control it? Can you embrace the fluidity of life, knowing that change is not something to fear but something to welcome? In doing so, we learn that impermanence is not our enemy. It's our greatest teacher. By embracing it, we find the freedom to live fully, in the present, without fear of what will come or what will go. Part 3, The Power of Non-Attachment, Freedom in Letting Go. Non-attachment. It's a word we often hear in spiritual circles, but what does it truly mean? Is it about becoming indifferent or detached from life? Or is it something deeper, a practice that allows us to fully engage with life without being imprisoned by our desires, fears, and attachments? At its core, non-attachment in Buddhism is not about renouncing life or abandoning our emotions. It's about experiencing life fully without clinging to it, without grasping at it, and without trying to force it to conform to our expectations. Non-attachment is about freedom, the freedom to let go of the things, people, and ideas that no longer serve us, and to find peace in accepting things as they are. We are all familiar with attachment. It's the invisible thread that binds us to our desires, our relationships, and our possessions. It's the sense that we need something in order to be happy, whether it's a particular outcome, a person's approval, or material wealth. And in our modern world, we are constantly reminded of these attachments. We are told that we must have more, be more, and do more in order to find happiness and fulfillment. But the truth is, this pursuit of more only leaves us feeling empty, because the more we attach ourselves to something, the more we invite the suffering of loss. Imagine a tree rooted deeply into the ground. Its branches stretch toward the sky, and it flourishes in the sunlight. But as seasons change, the tree begins to shed its leaves. If the tree clung to every leaf, unwilling to let go of them, it would become weighed down, stunted in its growth, unable to fully embrace the future. Similarly, when we cling to people, possessions, or even identities that no longer serve us, we too become weighed down. We miss the opportunity to grow, to evolve, and to experience the fullness of life. In my own life, I've seen how attachment can limit my ability to move forward. There was a time when I clung to an old version of myself, someone I thought I should be, based on past expectations and past successes. But holding on to this image of who I was only led to frustration. I couldn't embrace the person I was becoming, and I resisted the changes that were unfolding within me. The moment I began to let go of that attachment, I found freedom. I was able to step into a new chapter of my life with a sense of openness, willing to experience life without the weight of past expectations. Buddhism teaches us that attachment comes from a place of fear. Fear of loss, fear of change, fear of the unknown. We cling to what we know, believing that it will give us stability and security. But in doing so, we lock ourselves into a cycle of desire and suffering. The Buddha's teachings on non-attachment offer us a way out of this cycle. By letting go of our need to control or possess, we open ourselves to life as it is, not as we think it should be. Let's consider the example of love. We often think of love as something we own or possess. We want our loved ones to stay with us forever, to fulfill our needs, to act in a certain way. But when love is mixed with attachment, it can turn into possessiveness and fear. We try to control the people we love, fearing that if they change or leave, we will be incomplete. Real love, however, is not about possession. It's about freedom. The Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "You must love in such a way that the person you love feels free." True love allows space for the other person to be themselves, to grow, and to change without fear of losing them. In my own experience, I've realized that when I approach love without attachment, I experience a deeper connection with others. I've learned to love without fear, knowing that true love doesn't depend on control or permanence. Instead of trying to hold on tightly, I've learned to let people be themselves and to appreciate them for who they are, not for who I want them to be. This shift in perspective has transformed my relationships, allowing them to be more open, authentic, and fulfilling. Non-attachment also applies to our relationship with material things. We live in a world where possessions are often equated with success and happiness. We accumulate things in the hopes that they will bring us lasting contentment, whether it's the newest phone, the most fashionable clothes, or a bigger house. But Buddhism teaches us that material possessions are not the source of true happiness. In fact, the more we attach ourselves to things, the more we suffer when they inevitably break, fade, or disappear. The key is not to reject material possessions, but to enjoy them without becoming dependent on them. I've had my own share of material attachments. I remember when I bought a car I thought I needed to feel successful. But over time, I became obsessed with keeping it pristine, worrying about every scratch or dent. The more I clung to it, the less I enjoyed it. It wasn't until I let go of that attachment, until I stopped worrying about what could go wrong, that I was able to truly appreciate the car for what it was, a tool that served a purpose, not a symbol of my worth. Non-attachment doesn't mean we stop caring. It means we stop being controlled by our desires. It means we engage with life fully but without clinging to it. We can love deeply, but without expecting anything in return. We can work hard, but without obsessing over the outcome. We can have goals, but without attaching our self-worth to whether or not we achieve them. This approach frees us from the constant need for validation, for control, for things to go our way. It allows us to experience life without fear of loss or change. One of the most powerful examples of non-attachment in Buddhism is the practice of meditation. In meditation, we learn to observe our thoughts and emotions without identifying with them. We allow them to come and go, like clouds passing through the sky. We don't cling to any particular thought or feeling, but instead, we simply observe them as they are. This practice teaches us that we are not our thoughts, and that our emotions do not define us. We can experience them without becoming attached to them. The beauty of non-attachment is that it doesn't mean we withdraw from life. It doesn't mean we stop caring, stop loving, or stop pursuing our dreams. On the contrary, non-attachment allows us to engage more fully with life, to experience it more deeply. It's about letting go of the need for certainty, for control, and for permanence. It's about trusting the flow of life and learning to live with an open heart. In practice, this means learning to let go of the things that weigh us down, whether they are material possessions, toxic relationships, or outdated beliefs. It means learning to love without possessing, to work without obsessing, and to live without fearing loss. It's about finding peace in the present moment, without the burden of attachment to what was or what could be. Non-attachment is not about indifference. It's about freedom, the freedom to experience life fully without the weight of expectation, fear, or control. By letting go of our attachments, we create space for new experiences, for growth, and for the beauty of the present moment. As you reflect on your own life, consider where you might be holding on too tightly. What are you attached to that might be holding you back? How can you practice non-attachment in your own relationships, in your work, and in your personal growth? The journey to freedom begins with the willingness to let go. Part 4, Patience and Acceptance, Trusting the Flow of Life. In a world that moves at a frantic pace, patience is often seen as a rare luxury, something we can only afford if we have time to spare. We live in a culture of instant gratification, where waiting feels like a burden, and delays are seen as inconveniences. Yet, patience is not simply about waiting, it's about how we relate to the space between what is and what we desire. And acceptance is the ability to trust that life will unfold in its own time, just as it's meant to, without the need for us to force it. The Buddha's teachings on patience and acceptance invite us to reconsider how we approach the inevitable delays and obstacles we face. It's easy to get frustrated when things don't go according to plan. We want progress, we want answers, we want change now. But life rarely works on our timeline. Instead of fighting against life's natural rhythm, Buddhism teaches us to trust it, to accept that things are unfolding exactly as they need to, even if we can't see the full picture right now. Patience, in its truest sense, is not about doing nothing or resigning ourselves to inaction. It's about responding to life with an open heart, allowing ourselves to be present with what is, while trusting that the changes we seek will come in their own time. It's an active form of acceptance. It's about learning to sit with discomfort, to hold space for uncertainty, and to trust that life's ebb and flow will carry us exactly where we need to go. Think about the process of growing a tree. When you plant a seed, you don't immediately expect it to grow into a tall, sturdy tree. You don't pull it up every day to see if it's growing, checking for progress, or demanding that it sprout leaves overnight. Instead, you water it, care for it, and let it be, trusting that with time and the right conditions, it will grow as it's meant to. And while you wait, you trust the process. In our own lives, we often treat our growth the same way. We plant seeds of ambition, hope, and desire, but we demand to see the fruits of our labor immediately. We push, we strive, and we stress when things don't move as fast as we'd like. We forget that growth takes time, and that the process, however slow it may feel, is just as important as the end result. I have experienced this impatience many times in my own life. I once set an ambitious career goal, hoping to achieve success within a specific time frame. Every delay felt like a setback, and every obstacle seemed like a failure. I resisted the process, frustrated that I wasn't seeing immediate results. But when I finally took a step back and allowed myself to trust the journey, I realized that those delays were not hindrances, they were shaping me into someone more resilient, more patient, and more prepared for the success I sought. Patience, when practiced with acceptance, becomes a profound tool for inner peace. Instead of constantly fighting against what we can't control, we begin to make peace with what is. We accept that life doesn't always go according to plan. We learn to trust that even when we don't understand the reasons behind delays or obstacles, they are part of a larger process, one that we can't always see from where we stand. In Buddhist philosophy, the practice of samsara, the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, is often depicted as an endless wheel, where all beings move through cycles of suffering, change, and renewal. The goal is not to escape this cycle but to learn to navigate it with wisdom and patience. Life's challenges are not roadblocks, they are opportunities for growth, transformation, and learning. Patience, then, is our ability to sit with the discomfort of change, to allow ourselves to evolve without rushing or resisting the process. Acceptance plays an equally important role. It's one thing to be patient, but it's another thing to accept that things are the way they are. Acceptance isn't about passive resignation or giving up. It's about acknowledging the present moment without judgment, without trying to force a different reality. It's about releasing the need to control everything, especially when the outcome is uncertain. I recall a period in my life when I was going through a major transition. I was uncertain about my future, and my plans weren't unfolding the way I had hoped. I found myself constantly anxious, questioning why things weren't happening faster, why opportunities weren't arriving on my timeline. But through Buddhist practice, I began to understand that resistance to my current reality was only creating suffering. Instead of fighting the uncertainty, I started to accept it. I learned to trust that what was meant for me would come, even if it wasn't happening right now. That acceptance allowed me to move forward with less fear and more peace, knowing that things would unfold in their own time. Patience and acceptance, when practiced together, create a deep sense of trust in the flow of life. Life is not a race. It is not something to be controlled or rushed through. It is something to be experienced, moment by moment, with all of its uncertainties and challenges. When we let go of our rigid expectations and allow life to unfold at its own pace, we find that we can be present with what is, rather than constantly yearning for what might be. In Buddhism, this concept is closely tied to the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness teaches us to pay attention to the present moment without judgment or distraction. When we are mindful, we are fully present with whatever is happening right now, rather than constantly looking ahead or looking back. In moments of patience, mindfulness allows us to accept the present without trying to change it. When we practice patience, we don't just wait for things to get better. We engage with life as it is, fully, completely, and with an open heart. This practice of being fully present, without resistance, is what leads to true peace. We stop fighting against life's challenges and start learning from them. We trust that the right things will come at the right time. And in the meantime, we find peace in the process. This approach to life doesn't mean that we stop striving or stop pursuing our goals. Patience and acceptance aren't about sitting idly by while life passes us. On the contrary, they are about engaging fully in the process, without the anxiety or fear of how things will turn out. They teach us that life's path is not a straight line, but a winding road filled with unexpected turns and detours, and that is perfectly okay. So, when faced with delays, setbacks, or challenges, ask yourself, how can I embrace this moment? Can I trust that life will unfold in its own time, even if I can't see the whole picture right now? The more we practice patience and acceptance, the more we will trust the flow of life and find peace in the journey. Life, like a river, will take us where we need to go, as long as we stop fighting the current and allow ourselves to move with it. In this space of trust, we create a foundation for true peace. Patience and acceptance become not just practices, but ways of being in the world, allowing us to engage deeply with life, knowing that everything is unfolding as it should. Part 5, Mindfulness, Living Fully in the Present Moment. Mindfulness. It's a term that has become a buzzword in recent years, often associated with meditation, stress relief, and personal well-being. Yet, when we peel back the layers, we find that mindfulness is not just a practice or a technique, it is a way of living. A way of being fully awake, fully present in each moment, without distraction or judgment. And it is one of the most powerful tools in Buddhism for transcending suffering and embracing life as it is. At its core, mindfulness is the practice of being aware of what's happening right now, without getting lost in thoughts about the past or future. It's about stepping out of autopilot mode, the mindless, automatic reactions we often have to life's ups and downs, and instead, engaging with the present moment as it unfolds. Mindfulness invites us to pay attention to our experience with curiosity and acceptance, rather than judging it or trying to change it. It's the art of simply being, of fully experiencing whatever is happening around us and within us. Imagine you're sitting down to enjoy a meal. Most of the time, when we eat, we're not truly present. We may be thinking about what we need to do later, scrolling through our phones, or distracted by the noise around us. But what if, instead, you focused all your attention on the meal itself? You noticed the color, the texture, the taste, and the smell. You savored each bite, appreciating the nourishment it provided. This is mindfulness. It's about fully engaging with whatever you're doing in that moment, giving it your undivided attention. In Buddhism, mindfulness is referred to as sati, a word that means memory or awareness. But it's not just about remembering, it's about being aware of what is happening right now, with full presence and attentiveness. The Buddha taught that by cultivating mindfulness, we can free ourselves from the distractions, anxieties, and compulsive patterns of thought that cause us suffering. Instead of getting swept away by the constant stream of thoughts, we can anchor ourselves in the present, where true peace resides. Think about how often our minds wander. We get caught in worries about the future or regrets about the past. We replay old conversations in our heads, wondering what we could have said differently. We imagine worst-case scenarios that may never come to pass. And all of this pulls us away from the present moment, where life is actually happening. It's easy to forget that the only moment we truly have is now. But mindfulness brings us back to this moment, teaching us that the past is gone and the future is unknown. The present is all we have. I've found that mindfulness has a profound impact on my ability to cope with life's difficulties. There was a time when I would get lost in my thoughts, constantly ruminating on past mistakes or worrying about things that hadn't even happened yet. This constant mental chatter only added to my stress and anxiety. But when I began practicing mindfulness, I learned to observe my thoughts without becoming attached to them. I realized that I didn't have to believe every thought that came into my mind. Instead, I could simply notice them, acknowledge them, and let them pass by. This shift in perspective allowed me to find peace in the present moment, rather than getting trapped in a cycle of worry and regret. One of the key aspects of mindfulness is non-judgment. We often judge our experiences, whether we label them as good or bad, pleasant or unpleasant. This judgment creates resistance and separation. We want to hold on to the good things and push away the bad. But mindfulness teaches us to simply observe what is happening, without labeling it or trying to change it. This doesn't mean we become indifferent to our emotions or experiences, but rather that we accept them as they are, without resistance. I remember a time when I was dealing with a difficult emotion, fear. I had been feeling anxious about an important decision I had to make, and I could feel the tightness in my chest, the racing thoughts, the fluttering in my stomach. Normally, I would have tried to push the fear away, distract myself from it, or fix the situation to make the fear go away. But with mindfulness, I chose to simply sit with the fear, without judgment. I allowed myself to experience it fully, to feel it in my body and observe it in my mind. And in doing so, I discovered something profound: the fear didn't define me. It was just an experience passing through me, like a cloud in the sky. It didn't need to control me. Mindfulness invites us to shift from being caught up in our experiences to being present with them. When we are caught up, we are swept away by our emotions, thoughts, and reactions. But when we are present, we can step back and observe our experience from a place of awareness. This doesn't mean we suppress or avoid our emotions, it means we approach them with curiosity and acceptance, knowing that they too are impermanent. One of the most powerful aspects of mindfulness is its ability to help us break free from the cycle of automatic reactions. Think about the last time someone said something that triggered you. Maybe you snapped back, or you stewed over it in your mind for hours. This is an automatic reaction, a knee-jerk response based on past patterns of thought and emotion. Mindfulness, however, teaches us to pause before reacting. It allows us to create space between stimulus and response, so that we can choose how we want to respond. Instead of reacting impulsively, we can respond with wisdom, compassion, and clarity. Mindfulness also deepens our ability to connect with others. When we are present with someone, fully engaged in the moment, we are able to listen deeply, not just to their words but to the emotions and intentions behind them. How often do we listen with half our attention, distracted by our own thoughts or the pull of our phones? When we practice mindfulness in our interactions, we create space for genuine connection. We give the other person our full attention, and we receive them with open hearts and minds. The beauty of mindfulness is that it's not confined to a meditation cushion. While meditation is an excellent way to cultivate mindfulness, it's also something we can bring into our daily lives. Whether we're eating, walking, working, or talking with others, we can practice being fully present with whatever we're doing. It's about shifting from a mind that is always chasing the next moment to a mind that is fully engaged in the one we're in. I've found that practicing mindfulness throughout my day has brought a sense of ease and clarity that I never thought possible. Simple moments, like drinking a cup of tea or walking down the street, have become opportunities to experience life more deeply. When we're fully present, we don't need to seek out distractions to feel fulfilled. We find that the present moment is enough. Mindfulness, at its core, is about returning to what is real. It's about stepping away from the constant stream of thoughts, worries, and distractions that pull us away from life as it is. When we live mindfully, we stop running from our experiences, and we stop waiting for life to be different. Instead, we show up, fully and completely, for whatever is happening right now. The next time you find yourself rushing through life, distracted by the past or future, take a moment to pause. Bring your attention to the present moment, to what's happening right here, right now. Notice your breath, your body, your surroundings. This simple act of presence can transform your experience of life, helping you to engage more fully, to appreciate the beauty of the present, and to find peace in the now. In the end, mindfulness is not just a practice, it is a way of life. It's the key to living with presence, clarity, and deep peace. By practicing mindfulness, we step out of the noise and into the stillness of the present moment. And it is in this stillness that we discover the true essence of life. Part 6, Renunciation, letting go of what no longer serves us. Renunciation. In the West, this word often carries a heavy, almost negative connotation. It conjures images of monks retreating to a life of austerity, abandoning the material world and the pleasures it offers. But in Buddhism, renunciation is not about deprivation, nor is it about rejecting life's joys. Instead, it is about recognizing what no longer serves us, and letting it go. It is the act of freeing ourselves from the attachments that weigh us down, so that we can live with greater clarity, peace, and purpose. Renunciation is a liberating practice. It's not about escaping the world or cutting ourselves off from life, it's about engaging with life fully but without the need to control, possess, or cling. We let go of what we don't need, so that we can make space for what truly matters. In doing so, we open ourselves to greater freedom. Think about the things in life that you hold on to, the relationships, possessions, beliefs, or identities that you think define you. At some point, we all hold on to things, hoping they will provide us with security, comfort, or happiness. But what happens when those things change or are no longer relevant to our lives? When we become too attached to them, we feel lost, empty, and unsure of who we are without them. Buddhism teaches that attachment is the root of suffering. We attach ourselves to things, people, and ideas, believing that they will bring us lasting happiness. But everything in life is impermanent. People come and go, possessions wear out, and even our own bodies change. So, when we cling to something that is inherently transient, we set ourselves up for inevitable pain and loss. I remember a time when I was deeply attached to my career. I defined myself by my job title, by my success, and by the recognition I received in my field. But over time, I realized that my sense of self-worth was tied to something that was constantly changing and often beyond my control. I became anxious, fearful of losing my position, and uncertain of my identity when I wasn't working. It wasn't until I started to let go of that attachment, until I stopped defining myself solely by my career, that I began to experience a deeper sense of freedom. I realized that who I was wasn't dependent on what I did or what others thought of me. I was enough, just as I was, without the need to constantly prove myself. Renunciation doesn't mean that we stop caring or stop loving. It means that we love and care without attachment. It means that we can engage with life fully, whether it's our work, our relationships, or our passions, without becoming so attached that we lose ourselves in the process. We can enjoy the things we have, but we don't cling to them. We can love the people in our lives, but we don't possess them. We can pursue our dreams, but we don't tie our worth to their achievement. In Buddhism, one of the most profound forms of renunciation is letting go of our attachment to the self. We often think of ourselves as fixed, unchanging identities, but the truth is that we are constantly evolving. The person we were yesterday is not the person we are today, and the person we are today will not be the person we are tomorrow. When we cling to a fixed sense of self, we create tension and suffering. But when we let go of that attachment to the self, we open ourselves to the possibility of growth, change, and transformation. This is not an easy task. Our identities are often built around the roles we play in life, whether it's as a parent, a partner, a professional, or a friend. We identify so strongly with these roles that we begin to believe they are who we truly are. But what happens when those roles shift or disappear? What happens when the things we define ourselves by are no longer present? The Buddha's teachings remind us that our true nature lies beyond these roles. Who we are is not defined by what we do or who we are to others. Our true nature is boundless, impermanent, and interconnected with everything around us. When we let go of our attachment to a fixed self, we begin to experience a deeper sense of freedom, freedom from the expectations and limitations we place on ourselves, and freedom from the fear of losing our sense of identity. Another important aspect of renunciation is letting go of material possessions. In our modern world, we are constantly encouraged to accumulate more clothes, more gadgets, more status symbols. We believe that if we just have more, we'll be happy. But the truth is, possessions are fleeting. They break, they get old, or they simply lose their value. When we attach our happiness to material things, we set ourselves up for disappointment. Renunciation doesn't mean rejecting material possessions altogether. It means using them wisely and appreciating them without becoming dependent on them. It means recognizing that things are not the source of our happiness, they are simply tools that can support us in living a fulfilling life. By letting go of our attachment to possessions, we free ourselves from the constant desire for more and the endless cycle of consumerism. We begin to appreciate what we have, rather than constantly yearning for what we don't. One of the most profound examples of renunciation in Buddhism is the act of letting go of our attachment to the past. We all have memories, some joyful, some painful, that shape who we are. But when we become attached to these memories, when we cling to them as if they define us, we are living in the past rather than the present. We can learn from the past, but we don't need to live in it. Renunciation teaches us to release the grip of the past, to stop letting it dictate our present, and to embrace the freedom of the now. I've seen this in my own life, especially when it comes to past relationships. There were times when I clung to old memories of love and loss, believing that they were the only things that defined me. But when I learned to let go of these attachments, I found a new sense of peace. I stopped carrying the weight of the past, and I allowed myself to move forward, free from the emotional baggage I had been holding on to. Renunciation also involves letting go of our attachment to the future. We often live in a state of anticipation, always looking ahead to the next big thing, the next goal, the next milestone. But when we focus solely on the future, we miss the richness of the present moment. We are so concerned with what is to come that we neglect to appreciate what is right in front of us. Renunciation invites us to release our attachment to the future, to stop trying to control what is yet to come, and to embrace the uncertainty of life. In my own journey, I've learned that when I let go of my attachment to a specific outcome or timeline, I open myself up to life's unexpected gifts. I find that the more I release my need for certainty, the more space I create for new experiences and opportunities to emerge. Life is unpredictable, and that unpredictability is a part of its beauty. When we let go of the need to control the future, we open ourselves to the infinite possibilities that life offers. Renunciation is not about rejecting life, it's about engaging with it more fully. It's about letting go of the attachments that limit us and embracing the freedom that comes with releasing our grip on what no longer serves us. It's about living with an open heart, a clear mind, and a deep appreciation for the present moment. As you reflect on your own life, consider what you are holding on to. What attachments are preventing you from living freely? What things, people, or beliefs are you clinging to, believing that they will bring you happiness or security? How can you begin to let go of what no longer serves you, so that you can experience the freedom that comes from renunciation? The act of letting go is one of the most profound ways to live a life of peace, purpose, and joy. When we release the things that weigh us down, we make space for something greater. Renunciation is not about loss, it's about gain, the gain of freedom, clarity, and the ability to fully embrace the present moment. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey into the heart of Buddhist wisdom. We've uncovered some profound truths today about letting go, embracing impermanence, and living with mindfulness, lessons that can radically transform how you experience life's challenges. But this is just the beginning. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to leave a comment below sharing your thoughts and experiences. I'd love to hear how these teachings are helping you along your own path of peace and growth. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, so you won't miss any of the transformative content coming your way. Remember, the journey to inner peace isn't about achieving perfection, it's about letting go, embracing the moment, and trusting the flow of life. Keep walking the Serenity Path, and I'll see you in the next video.